Hello, everybody. This is Nerd Blaze's Voltron discussion. We decided at this point that we all wanted to get together and talk about Voltron because the new season drops today, and we all like Voltron around here, so we thought it'd be fun to gather around and talk about what we like, what we dislike from the show, and what we want to see for the final season. So there's a lot of people here, I guess, so just to start us off, my name is Kobe. I work with Nerd Blaze, and I think it'd be a fun icebreaker to say everyone's favorite character, like we're in like a high school or college class or something. So I'll say this: my favorite character is Lance from Voltron. He started off as a character who I did not like to begin with. I thought he was overt Sokka ripoff, but like a lesser version of him. But then over like these 7 seasons, he's really grown into his own, and I can talk about more about why I like him as a character a bit later. But I guess I'll pass it to someone to my right, Victoria. Introduce yourself, and who's your favorite character?
Hi, I'm Victoria. My favorite character is Shiro. He's your all-American looking Japanese guy, and he's somebody that I always root for in the show, and I want to see more of.
Cool. Let's go over to Jake.
Hi, I'm Jake H. from Anime Dumpster Dive, and my favorite character is Lance as well. I love a character that grows. Shut up. I love a character that just grows in a way that you really don't expect, and Lance definitely went from that like goofball character to a character that you're kind of just always rooting for, and like
cool.
has like matured more than I think any other character in the show.
In a bunch of little moments. I agree with you there. Let's go over to Tori. Tori, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Tori. You may have heard me from other Nerds Blaze podcasts, but I'm going to say that I don't know why you guys like Lance that much, but we'll have to, I guess, talk that later. But I don't know. I just think everybody's favorite character should be Shiro because he's the best. Like, he always just makes decisions for the team. He's awesome. He's good looking. Like, there's nothing that he can't do, and he's just so great. We all have to cheer for Shiro, so he's the best.
Okay. Two for Lance, 2 for Shiro. Jeff, be our tiebreaker.
Hi, I'm Jeff. I'm usually the guy that does the introduction for Anime Ricochet in our weekly anime review, which is currently Zombieland Saga.
Ooh,
and
nice
to
plug.
break this tie, I will have to go with Shiro.
Yeah.
I really like Shiro. I'm generally attracted to characters that fill out the leadership role, characters that generally have their shit together, and characters that kind of like keep the team together and are like, inspire them and mentor them. I like mentor characters, essentially. I liked Iroh in Avatar: Last Airbender. I liked Gandalf was probably my favorite character in Lord of the Rings. So yeah, I like Shiro in this show the most.
Okay. All right, so 2 for Lance, 3 for Shiro. So I guess we should talk about Shiro because Shiro, I think, even though Lance is Jake and I's favorite character, Shiro has the most confusing and interesting arc, I think, in the show, just from his placement and his role on the team. So I guess I want to talk about that a little bit because obviously he disappeared for a certain amount of time in season. When did he disappear? End of season 2, right? That's when he.
Yeah, it's like
did.
season 3, first 5 episodes.
In the
He was gone for a short amount of time.
He was gone because obviously, and Jake, I think maybe the most about the old Voltron show. So Shiro wasn't a part of the original team. Is Shiro even a character?
Shiro was part of the original Voltron team, but he is killed by Hagar, and then replaced by Allura. And so, knowing that, I thought he was dead at the end of the first season when he's fighting Hagar. I'm like, Shiro's dead. Shiro dies here.
That's it.
And then he lived, and I went, I have no idea what's happening now.
I thought he was dead in the beginning of season 2 when he's I guess starving for oxygen, and he says that weird thing to Keith, Keith, if I ever die, I want you to lead the team. So I'm like, oh, that's a red flag right there. I think
right there.
That's when Jacob's like, oh, Shiro is totally just gonna bite it so fucking hard. Mm-hmm. But he didn't, because I guess that's the problem with a show like this, because he proved to be so popular that he kind of ruined the dynamic. So he disappeared for a bit and then came back. I guess at that point, were you guys expecting him to come back like that?
I actually was expecting him to dip out and stay out, because I think that's what at least for seasons 1 and 2, that seemed to be what they were building up to. And I actually would have been completely fine, as much as he is my favorite character, I would have been completely fine with him making a hard exit from the show and just kind of maybe leading from the spiritual background as we see him do later on in the show. But yeah, it seemed like the whole show was building up to Keith taking on his role as the actual leader of Voltron. And like Shiro, like I said, is already a really good character, and there's no real downsides to him, essentially. And with that character like that, you really have nowhere to go other than to have, like, I guess, to have your legacy live on through others. Like, I guess an analog or an example would be Game of Thrones character. I don't know, spoiler alert. I don't know. Has everyone seen Game of Thrones at this point?
Yeah,
Fuck, I don't know.
It's like 8 years old.
Okay. So yeah, so Ned Stark, right? Season 1, he's the honorable dude, and you know, he's the goodest of good guys in that show. And for that he dies. But his legacy lives on through the rest of his Stark family, and I would say has the strongest actual impact on the show after dying. And so I thought he was going to go that route. He would die, and people would remember his words and what he taught them, and I would have been completely fine with that. And I was actually kind of bummed that he was gone for a short amount of time. I think, you know, him coming back, I think I was okay with, but if he was gone for maybe a whole season or 2 seasons, that would have made his absence more felt, and I would have preferred that.
Yeah, it kind of seemed like with him being gone and then just suddenly coming back, they were trying to fit him in places where he no longer belonged. And I know it, you know, it kind of made a story out of it, but like, who's going to be the leader, Keith or Shiro? Who should we listen to? But it just makes everything clunky. Like, the episodes are clunky, the characters are clunky. We're trying to figure out what's going on, so it's all clunky to us. So I think it would have been more natural for him just to step out of the picture instead of bringing him back in and trying to fit in that picture.
Jake.
Yeah, and in those episodes that he was in, he didn't really do much. So I think Kilby, you told me that, yeah, he was, like, they were originally slating for him to actually be removed from the show for longer, but because he was so popular, they brought him back. And that is very, very apparent to me when I learned that. It was apparent to me watching the show, because you see when he comes back, there is a small storyline to be had with him, but after that is resolved again fairly quickly, he just sort of stands around in the show and doesn't really do anything special. And they kind of hang this plot thread in front of the viewers, like, is this the real Shiro? Oh, he's acting kind of strange, but they don't resolve that until maybe 2, 3, 4 seasons later. And in that time, he just, he's just kind of there. And yeah.
Well, what do you guys do? What do other guys think? Do you think Shiro should have stayed gone for longer?
I think, well, really quick, I forgot to bring this up when I was talking about the original Voltron. Do you guys remember that, like, alternate universe where they go to and they meet Sven? Like, that universe is Shiro?
Yeah.
So that's a direct reference to Shiro's character in the dub of Voltron, where they renamed him Sven, they gave him a funny accent, and when he gets killed by Hagar in the dub, they didn't want to show a guy dying in a kid's cartoon, so they changed his last words to, "Oh, I think I will feel better. Please take me to Space Hospital."
Oh.
And so that's how come Sven goes, like, I'm going to Space Hospital. So I thought when Shiro came back that he would no longer be the Black Lion pilot, like, at all. And I thought that his role, as soon as his return, would be very similar to his role in the final season, as that kind of outside mentor, like Jeff said. And so I was kind of hoping for that. And then they kind of did a weird part, and they wrote Keith, like, off of the team and had Shiro take place as leader again. And that really upset me, because that was, like, my favorite Keith arc, was him learning to be leader.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
And then they kind of just threw that away to make Shiro leader again. And I was like, I was enjoying that. It would have been fun to see Shiro kind of be forced to be on the sidelines instead of, like, being able to lead them, but being able to teach them would have been a lot better, I feel like. Because I really liked last season. And I really wish they would have done that with Shiro right from his return.
They just didn't know how to handle him to begin with, because when he comes back, he, like, I was thinking he would butt heads more with Keith but the problem is they didn't establish enough time as Keith as a leader for that to be really viable. So as soon as Shiro comes back, like the one episode of Keith development as leader, they immediately undercut him. Like Keith's like, oh nope, Shiro's back. Shiro's leader. Totally makes sense for his character, like for how much Keith looks up to Shiro, but it was just narratively very clunky, and it robbed Keith of character, and also robbed Allura of any character development too. Like Allura, I think, is the one who got short-sighted the most out of Shiro's sudden return, because we lost the arc of her kind of coming into her own as the Blue Paladin, because she had the one episode of her going from princess to paladin and her discovering the powers, and then she's just automatically great because they just didn't have time to tell any of her stories, which I thought was really unfortunate.
Yeah, I agree with the thing on Keith. Keith is my favorite character in the group. Shiro's my overall favorite character, but he has so much potential to grow as a person and a character, and he's the one that creates the most tension in the group, which makes for interesting, watch. But they wrote him out of the story, and ever since then, like, Keith is not really part of the group anymore. Really, it's just so sad.
Yeah, and the more I think about that whole Shiro return, the more I remember how clunky it was. Because to me, peak Voltron enjoyment was seasons 1 and 2. Right, you had the original Paladins, you had Shiro, Keith, Hunk, Pidge, and Lance, and then Allura and Karan and the Castle of Lions as backup. Like I really loved that setup for the first 2 seasons. And then when the team reformed and they're kind of, going off that new storyline where Shiro has to leave, well, Shiro disappears and then Keith is the new leader. And yeah, as you said, Allura steps in as the Blue Paladin. I was really excited for that. I was really excited for all the new developments that was happening. Specifically, I was excited. I really liked that moment where like Lance gave up his seat as the Blue Paladin. And then it was revealed like, oh, well, the Red Paladin, that's the Black Paladin's right-hand man and is accepting Keith as your leader. You are now his Red Paladin. I just love that because, that whole rivalry between Keith and Lance kind of took a new development, which I really enjoyed. But yeah, it's like the first 2 seasons were solid group dynamics and character development. And I wish it would have gone with 2 more solid seasons of the team the new team coming to their own and that kind of thing. And yeah, the Shiro return threw that off balance. And I don't know, the show is enjoyable, but is it good? Is it really good? I don't know anymore.
That's where I disagree with you when you said peak Voltron is seasons 1 and 2, because I actually think peak Voltron is season 6 and 7, where they more fully realized Keith as the leader with Shiro as the sideline player, and kind of like streamlining a season as like, season 7 was the Earth attack, and then season 6 was the end of Lotor's arc right there. So I thought they really found their groove after being forced to incorporate Shiro back into the story early in seasons like 3, 4, and 5 and all that. So that's where I disagree. I think seasons 6 and 7 are my favorite seasons. What about you guys? Do you guys think early Voltron's better or later Voltron's better?
As much as I do really like season 7, and I really like the beginning of Voltron a lot, peak Voltron for me, weirdly enough, is the Lotor arc. Because that introduces an actual complicated villain. Because, like, at first with, I can't even remember his dad's name.
Zarkon.
Zarkon.
Was it Zoltor? Zoltor's the sidekick who you pass by in a carnival game. It's like, Zoltor has your future.
It's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Zoltor makes his appearance.
Yeah.
Zarkon for me was like Zarkon didn't get any development until that one flashback episode to the original Paladins. And so it was kind of, he's just like, look at me, look how evil I am. And then you get Lotor, and Lotar's this complicated person who's doing evil things for what he believes will eventually be the greater good. And he's trying to change things by working inside the Empire, but then really he's just like his ends. The ends don't justify the means of what he's doing with torturing the Alteans. And it really he's a character who I actually really missed in season 7, just because he was such a entertaining antagonist. And so his whole arc, Yeah, there's episodes sprinkled in his arc that are kind of iffy. But overall, I'd say the whole Lotar arc is my favorite.
I was so excited when Lotor was introduced because I was loving every bit of his character arc, and I love it when a show introduces, as you said, a complicated character to challenge the heroes, because that's what makes it 10 times better than just the evil guy in the chair, you know, like the Zarkon is like, oh, this time I'll get the paladins, because there's nothing there. But Lotor had his motivations and he had his reasons behind it, and you kind of got to the point where you're kind of like, I was rooting for him, like I was like, you know what,
totally.
Lotor,
Yeah.
like, you know, like not so bad.
He's got a foot.
Like, and it
Yeah.
comes a point where it's just like, I wonder if you guys felt that too, like up to his final drop, you're just like, okay, no, something else has got to happen here. Like, he's gonna be bad, but it's like I kind of don't want it to happen because, I don't know if I do want it to happen because
Yeah.
Lotor evokes such strong emotion for me. But the introduction of Lotor was a great addition to the series.
Yeah, I'm really glad you brought up Lotor because, yes, Lotor, he might be, thinking about it now, he might be my second favorite character.
Yeah.
I think he had that much of a presence and an impact on the show. And as you guys said, yeah, a complicated villain is always a welcome addition in any entertainment, in my opinion. And yeah, I loved his intro where like he was like, some dude was talking shit to him, and then he turned out to be like the warrior that was fighting in the gladiator ring, and he's like, well then come fight me then. Yes, you have your chance. This is our culture now, isn't it? And then he fights him and he defeats him, and he's like, I will show you mercy. And then he goes off into the dark hallway and he's like, kill him
No,
when
he
you get the
says send
chance.
him to like the he banishes
Oh.
him to like a really shit planet.
Yeah, he vanished. Yeah, it was. Yeah, you're right. That was just a perfect introduction, and I completely agree with you, Kobe, that I wish they had kept him as kind of an ambiguous character, like, you know, his whole like at the end he kind of revealed himself to be straight up evil when like I vaguely remember the moment, but like I think Allura was kind of like talking smack to him and stuff, and basically she compared him to his father. And then he got all pissed off about that. That was like his trigger, you know. And then he started talking smack about how, you know, all the Alteans deserved it or something. I don't know. You guys can correct me.
Yeah,
if you
but
want,
no, but did that happen when they were in the the zone, in the special zone, which amplified emotion, which made
I thought it
them-
was before that.
No.
Oh, was it really? Yeah, maybe. I thought it was before that. I could have been misremembering it. But if it was in the zone of emotion, then I guess that might have impacted him a bit. But like, isn't that kind of does the zone of emotion reveal who you really are, or does it just make you corrupt?
I think it just corrupts you, because even the paladins, when they were in that, they were like, let's kill him, let's stop him. And I forgot who pulled them back and just like, wait guys, we're acting a little insane right now. Let's get out of here.
Probably Keith or Hunk.
But I mean, he
Probably
was
one of
still
them.
showing like total evil intentions before.
Yeah, I guess he betrayed his teammates and stuff, and yeah, I guess overall what I'm saying is like there was such potential for him to be the ambiguous bad guy, where he was loyal to his allies, and yeah, he did some fucked up shit, but it was all ultimately truly for the good of the universe. And I think when he was corrupted in that in the zone, I don't forget what it was called, he was saying how like once we broker this peace, the Empire will rule everyone all over again, kind of thing. And I thought it would have been cool if like he didn't want to do that, and if he just kind of remained as like he wants peace, but he's gonna do it through some messed up ways. That would have been more interesting, and I would have liked that more.
So the question is, do you guys think there's value in bringing him back for the final season?
I'm sorry, what's your question?
Do you guys think there's value in bringing him back for the final season? Or do you think his story wrapped up pretty succinctly where anything more could ruin it?
I think that Hagar is not a good enough villain for the last season. She's just not that interesting.
Yet. I mean, it's just because we don't know anything about Hagar.
I know, but it's kind of just like if they throw it in at the very last season, like as like a little snippet, it just seems so contrived. Like it's not genuine. They just want it to be a good season, so they're gonna like amplify Hagar as a villain when she's been in the background this whole time. I don't think she's that type of villain. So that's why I think it would be much better if they brought Lotor. But I don't know how they'll bring him back. Like,
I mean, Voltron escaped from the zone, so it's like, why not Lotor?
yeah, I mean, I don't know how they do it in a way that makes sense or is kind of good, but that's just my personal opinion that Hagar is not the villain that they should be facing in the end. And I know that's what they've been setting up. That's what they say in the trailers. That's what they say in like the preview. But still, I just agree. I don't agree that she is that great of a threat.
Yeah, I mean, they still have things to reveal about her. I mean, I don't think really they fully explored what the memories she recovered exactly were. Like, she went into that, like, space temple thing, and she was able to recover her lost magics and her memories and stuff. So I guess we got to figure out what that's all about. But apparently, even after that, she's still the bad guy. So she might be the Lotor that we want, which is, well, that I want, that I described earlier, kind of more the ambiguous bad guy as opposed to straight out bad guy. There might be good reasons that she, joined Zarkon in his quest for power, other than being corrupted by the magic space dust that we haven't seen. And I think the writers can succinctly explain that in an episode. I think they are competent enough to do something like that. And yeah, I mean, they definitely left the door open for Lotar. Like, when he was defeated, he wasn't actually explicitly, killed on screen or anything like that. Like, his robot kind of just floated off into the ether. So if Lotar is going to come back, I think he might come back as, like, an insane servant kind of thing to Hagar. Or maybe he becomes the wild card. He is just, like, an agent of chaos. I don't know.
Jake?
I would be excited either way.
I was just going to say, like, I wasn't sure if we'd seen any result of Hagar going into that temple, that Altean temple. And then I kind of remember the end of season 7 where they just get attacked by that random, like, robeast.
Yeah.
That
the
is
super robot. Yeah.
Yeah, that's being, like, powered by the Altean. So I assume in this episode, because we kind of got, like, because Voltron got stuck in that time thing for, like, 3 years.
Yeah.
And so we kind of got a taste of what happened like on Earth with the Galra attacking there, and we kind of saw like what happened in those 3 years. So I'm assuming we'll get like an episode that will probably talk about how Hagar has made her own sect of the Galra, like more powerful in a way, and we'll probably get like a little bit of not shoehorned in, but like needed setup development for Hagar as the villain for the season, because it's really left ambiguous what's her whole deal this whole season. I mean, like all of season 7, I don't think we see her.
No, I don't think so either.
No.
So I think,
but do you think Lotor should come back, or do you think they should devote all the time to Hagar?
I think if Lotar comes back, it's not gonna flow. I think we're gonna get another Shiro thing where we bring back a character who was popular for the sake of getting that popular character back in it. I think he disappeared, and like his maybe not like his arc is done. I think if he comes back, it's strictly to please fans, and I really would just like to see them develop Hagar more.
Yeah. But couldn't you argue that a key point of her character is reconciling with her son? Because like their relationship was strained for like this whole thing. If Lotor can come back, even if he's crazy, but then Hagar can connect with him in some way and they team up, is that a natural continuation of where her story's going?
I think then at that point it would have to be almost like a redemption storyline for Hagar.
Yeah,
because
I don't want that.
I think at that point, like, because he's trapped in that other ether, even if his robot did survive. So I think the only way you introduce him back is Hagar going to save him, because it's a possibility. Moments there turned out to be 3 years here, so he could still be there completely unaged, and like probably still good on like not starving to death.
That's a good point.
So him coming back, not like withered, is an absolute possibility. I just think that like the only person who would go get him is Hagar, and it'd have to be like, oh look, Hagar's good now type reason for her to go and reconcile with him.
But do you think they hint that because the use of Alteans for power was created by Lotor, right? And so by finding that Altean planet that he created, it could hint that Lotor came back and they found it together. Because I think Keith sent his mom, right, to go to that planet to find them. Or who was it? They sent someone to go investigate it. And by the time they got there, there was nobody there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so would Hagar know the location of that planet?
No, but Lotor would.
Yeah, it's possible.
That's true.
I would say though, I think it would be cool, but at the same time, I think the tragedy of that strained relationship not having a satisfying conclusion is good enough for me. So even if they kept Lotor completely out, that'd be fine. And I think there's other ways for Hagar to find the location of the planet, like maybe he finds Lotor's diary or something, and then in the diary it tells you, oh yeah, planet's over here.
She was.
I mean, there's a
Don't just like locked. Like don't. No girls allowed. Like don't open this.
yeah.
It's one of those ones with like the dolphins and like unicorns on it.
Yeah. Poor Lotor.
Wasn't she was spying on him for a while through Neferti, whatever.
Yeah.
The one
That's true.
the really cool henchman that he had, who he killed.
The most awesome one. She was the one who could see into like cats and other animals, right?
Yeah, she was the
Yeah.
like telepath, and then he
But
kills
she
her
didn't
without
say
regard.
anything.
Yeah, but her power was awesome. She's much better than that brute, and then the one who loves Keith. Like she was way cooler.
I like that
She
you
had cool
didn't
powers,
mention Ty
but no
Lee.
personality.
Ty Lee. Ty Lee.
Tylee.
Yeah,
wanted-
exactly. Okay, so this final season is 13 episodes. Do you guys think it's going to be a more like season 7, which was a really just condensed story of just like one straight save Earth, like that was it? Or do you think it's going to stay Earthbound, or we're going to go into more planets like we did in earlier seasons? Or do we even have time to go to other planets?
I think we're back in space, but no new planets. I think it's purely working with like the Resistance and the Blades of Marmora, because I think introducing a new species or like a new type of alien is just going to be awkward. And like kind of it's going to have people go, wow, we wasted time introducing this new like character now instead of developing another character like Pidge's brother. That would have been cool.
Besides giving Hunk literally anything to do.
Yeah.
He's got his parents. He makes burritos. That's all he needs to do.
He's the who do you guys think, I guess, is the team member who's most underdeveloped?
I mean, I guess it would be Hunk,
Hunk.
right? For sure.
Hunk?
Yeah.
But Hunk's been because Hunk's been like the same since episode 1. He's kind of been iffy about the whole Voltron thing, and he's kind of been like the heart of the team.
Yeah. Well, he's the Rock.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't, his strength is in his consistency. If he had constant conflict like the other characters did, then he wouldn't be the Rock. He'd just be like anyone else. They need that kind of the center on which to fall on, and yeah, that's his role. And I think I'm happy with that.
Yeah, so I just really wish they would have given him like a little bit more screen time. Like I thought they were gonna do like a cool like espionage episode where they go in and sneak out and get his parents, and we get to like really see him emotionally connected with people. But
he just looks at him through binoculars.
yeah,
Just like, yep, there's my
Yep,
parents.
there's my
I'm gonna
parents.
get you. Good thing you're all here. And
Yeah.
survived the decimation of Earth. I will say, like when we saw Earth being destroyed, and knowing that time travel was like time jumps were a thing, I totally thought they were gonna go back in time and like fix everything. So it's like I wasn't invested
What?
in these stakes.
Oh, wow.
Like I thought that's how it was going to end. Like because like they destroyed like a lot of Earth. Like a lot of Earth was gone. So I was like, there's no way they're gonna keep it like this. But then I was pleasantly surprised that everyone was dead.
Yeah, I mean, but also there's still a lot of people around. You got a base worth of people, and then they also mentioned that there's resistance all over the world, underground resistance. So it's like that could still be billions of people.
Yeah, it could still be a lot
Apparently.
of people.
Yeah.
But none of those people are Shira's fiance.
yeah. Why'd
got-
they have to kill him?
The
all?
My
LDA.
question was, he was the one who we saw die in the plane, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yep,
was him.
that
I
was
just thought, I was
him.
like, I don't know if I'm bad. I was just thinking another guy with glasses who has lines is Adam. But,
you could see it in the memorial. Like they list his name and
well, yeah,
Yeah.
you saw that
Shiro-
he died, but I didn't know if he was
cried.
like one of the pilots. The one who's like,
Yeah.
oh shit, it got blown to pieces. Yeah. General was like literally the biggest piece of shit character.
Oh yeah.
I think
Let's
that's,
talk about that.
I think it's sad. They should have really given Shiro his own moment because he's always like the team player and the leader, but that was his moment to go back and see his love interest, and then they just had to go and kill him. Like, why?
Yeah.
And
Because-
then they give him one scene where he looks at the
Memorial.
name and he's like, "Oh, you idiot."
Dude, because Shiro was busy doing shit during that final battle. Like, I think that it's like all the paladins are doing everything, but Shiro is like leading from the base, and then he decides to like bungee jump and space jump from his tower and gets horribly hurt, and then he comes back in his hospital bed. It's like, oh wait, no, I gotta lead again. And so it's like within a 15-minute period, he's back to leading the ship, and then he's fighting Sendak on the top of the flaming ship, and he's kicking his ass. Like, it's like, jeez. Shiro did so
Yeah.
much in that final season.
They couldn't
Final
let
battle.
Shiro kill Sindak. Like, that's my biggest pet peeve with season 7.
I totally agree with that. I actually wanted to bring that up, but yes, that could have been Shiro's moment, but they stole it from him.
I know,
Still
but
a fun.
that's totally intentional because it's not about a one-on-one fight. It's about a team fight. Sendak fought alone. Shiro fought with his team. He has a family. Sendak has nothing.
No,
Yeah, but
I mean,
Sindak and Shiro have been like at it since season 1. Like Sindak and Shiro had that whole interaction at the Castle of Lions, and then Shiro's the one who jettisons him into space, and Shiro and like he kills Shiro's fiance. He like Shiro and Sindak like at this point are mortal enemies, and Shiro doesn't get to kill him.
He
Keith
kills
jumps out
him
of a
in way
lion's
because
mouth and
Shiro,
slices.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
Shiro evolved into not needing to kill him himself because he has a team. Voltron's
no,
about teamwork.
No, Kobe, you could have it both ways. They are at that point. Sendak had already lost because of the teamwork that you're talking about. But they could have given Shiro that final moment, that singular moment, just for him to really close the book on that in a satisfying manner. And then at this point, Shiro is relegated to being the leader of the Atlas now, and I'm sure he'll have his own singular badass moments, but the show's about Voltron. It's not about him and the Atlas, so giving him this last final badass moment I think would have been a good way for him to close that arc off, and I don't know if he'll have another chance for that. So I think Shiro should have killed Sendak.
Tori, are you in agreement there too? Am
Understand-
I alone on this? Thinking
No,
that
I
is-
agree with you, Kobe. That's
What?
just not.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know, shocking, right? I believe it's not in his place. Like, it maybe in your guys' eye would have made it sweeter, but I don't think as overall storyline it makes a huge difference. And like, I don't see him as like, I mean, would Shiro singularly blame Sindak for the death of his fiance? He probably just hates all of Voltron.
Yeah,
It's
you guys
like-
were talking about like Sindak like literally lifted Adam up and broke his neck with his bare hands. Like, nah, he was just part of the garrison.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't consider them mortal enemies. I just consider the whole Zarkon Empire as the mortal enemy, and it's just one more guy to take off. Like Sindak is like whatever from season 1. I think that's the first time they've seen him since season 1, which was now 5 years ago probably. So it's like,
Well, they saw him. He like came back to life to challenge Lotor.
Yeah, Hagar was
and the
using him as
leadership.
like a champion, and he got his ass
yeah,
kicked.
but
Yeah.
they weren't there, right?
No, they were all there. They were gonna blow
They
up
were
his
there.
face.
Shiro
because
was there.
Blade's Memorial
Shiro
was
brought
doing his
Lotor
own
there.
Fucking like bombing unit thing because he was off on his
Oh,
own.
yeah.
They're like,
Oh,
oh,
yeah,
shit,
yeah, yeah.
Keith's there. Don't blow up the
But they
bombs.
probably didn't even remember who Sindak was. They're like, who are these people?
My
They're all,
mortal
they're all-
enemies.
all these
who are you?
Zarkon people look alike. They're all
Yeah.
Zarkon.
Whoa,
So I don't-
Calvary.
But yeah, I don't think it was that big of a deal.
Because
I mean-
it's also very important to Keith's character that he got to save Shiro. Let's say that 5 times that. Keith's character
Yeah.
saves Shiro. Because that's totally fitting for Keith's relationship with Shiro.
Oh, are you talking about how that time he saved Shiro in season 5, or that time he saved Shiro in season 2? How about that time he saved Shiro in season 3, Kobe? He saves Shiro all the
It
time.
put the cap on it. It put the cap on it and wrapped it up in a final way. So, your thing is because it sets precedent because Keith will always be there to save Shiro when he needs it.
All right, I will concede that the rivalry between Sendak and Shiro probably isn't as big as I was thinking it to be, but I just think it would have been appropriate. And like I said, and as Jake mentioned, Keith has saved Shiro multiple times throughout the series, and I mean, I guess it sets a precedent, but does that mean he has to do it every single time? Is Shiro just like completely helpless at that point that he needs Keith's help at every single moment? I disagree. I think Shiro has always been a badass character in his own right, and he should have had this moment to himself, and I think that just would have been more satisfying.
I think it works when it's like, okay, Keith saves Shiro in season 2 and season 5 and whatever Jake was naming before, but then you have that moment of and I think the peak. My favorite episode of Voltron is season 6. Yeah, season 6, the Black Lions or the Black Paladins. It's the one where everything goes to shit, and you have the Keith Shiro fight, and you reveal all the Shiro clones, and you know they have that epic fight on the mountain, and it's like they fight each other for like that last time there. You know that is my favorite episode of Voltron. So after that relationship, you know, kind of is fractured, and they fight each other there, then even still, Keith saves him one last time in the next season. That's great.
So you want him to save him again in the next season? Like, how many more times, Kobe? How many more times until you're satisfied?
It just makes it more satisfying. By the way, speaking of that scene, do you guys think there's, like, Shiro clones hanging around here in the universe?
We were talking about that because there are so many Shiro clones. Like, what did Hagar need all those for?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, they only sent out one. Well, only one worked, so...
Yeah, that's still a secret that needs to be, like, explained, isn't it? Like, why Lotor, or whoever cloned them, I guess it was
had all those
Hagar,
clones.
why Hagar needed to clone all of them. They haven't revealed the reason to that yet, right?
There was like 100 clones there. Like, I don't know. We were talking about this. Like, are they failures or are they all working functional Shiros?
I think she she cloned him to like, at least my personal thought was that she cloned him to, like, because at the time that he escapes, he's like the champion. So I think she cloned him so she'd have like an army of super soldiers that she could brainwash, and then it kind of just so happened he became the Black Paladin, and she was like, "Oh, well, great! I can use these for other reasons now."
Huh. Well, okay. Here's another
just
thing.
A lot of them.
Oh, wait, never mind. I was gonna actually answer the question I had. Well, since we're still on the topic of Shiro, what do you guys think of his new arm? Yay or nay?
Stupid.
Nay.
I loved his first robotic arm, and I'm so upset.
Yeah, sick.
Okay, completely agree. Yeah, the stupid floaty arm. I suspect I suspect they did it to kind of mirror Sendak's floaty arm, and I know we already established that I think the rivalry was probably not all it was chalked up to be, but there's still a one-on-one kind of like, this is the leader of the enemy, this is the leader of the good guys, so like, you know, they kind of wanted to mirror that in some way. But yeah, it looks stupid.
I mean,
agree.
It would be pointless if they just gave him the same arm, so they had to make it a little bit different.
But they could have done it in a way that didn't have a weird floaty thing on it.
Yeah,
that's
just don't make it floaty.
I agree with you guys. I just wanted to do that.
It would look cool if it wasn't floaty. If it was just a cool, like, it was just a big white arm, like robot arm, because like his old arm was kind of more, I guess, grayish, but this one's kind of like shiny and like titanium or something with Alluran magic coursing through it. That would have been sick. But no, they had to detach it in some sense.
Because everything can turn into a fucking robot, I wish his arm could turn into like a little mini Voltron, like on the side of his body.
And the mice pilot it.
Yeah, the mice pilot would be awesome.
Give the mice something to do. Yeah, the other thing I want to talk about, since we're kind of final season discussion-ish, is what did you guys think of the I don't know her name, but like the general of the human side, of the Earth side, who betrayed the rest of humanity by basically turning them in and being like, "Here's Voltron,
So
now leave
stupid.
Earth now, please."
I thought
Yeah,
that was
it's
just a plot point.
Contrivance, right? Total
Yeah.
contrivance. Yeah, I mean, I think the plot could have survived on its own without that.
Like there could
do
have
you
been a
guys think?
million other ways. But like having her betray him at the last second, just like, man, you just suck. And like even though they try to do a redemption arc at the end, it's like, well, it doesn't even fucking matter. Like,
Yeah.
She's like, "Look, I got Voltron out of this pickle," and it's like, well, they wouldn't have been in the pickle if it wasn't for you. You still
Yeah.
delayed progress.
Yeah, you still are the cause. Not the
Sendak,
solution.
I delivered Voltron, like you said. Now you're gonna keep your word, right? You're gonna leave. And she's like, no. She's like, what?
It's the
The
laziest
bad guy's
villain.
a bad
Is she
guy.
that dumb?
She's like the laziest writing in the entire show. which kind of
Yeah.
bummed me out.
Yeah, and it was she from start to finish, her character was stupid, arguing with Pidge's dad, when it's just like, at the end of this, I'm gonna have you all court-martialed for saving all of our lives. Like, how dare you? just the worst.
So you guys generally like season 7, right?
I do. I like it a lot.
You
Yeah, I
know,
like
you know what
season.
would have made it better, in my opinion? If
What?
Lance fucking died.
Right when he's sitting there and he is at peace with his death.
Yeah, like if he would have fucking died there, I would have loved it. It would have been the best. It would have been the best thing ever. His character arc has been completed. Because as we mentioned about Lance is like my favorite character beforehand, because he's the one who has, I think, the best individual moments. Like, I think like the small moments when he's like, when Shiro comes back and Lance is like, I'm gonna step away from the team because obviously you're needed way more than I am. It's like, oh, great character development. When how he was the first one to like summon the Altean weaponry that comes to them in like dire need. Like, he was the first one to summon the swords. Like, oh, great for Lance there. He got over his feelings to Allura, which was a little weird to begin with, but like he kind of got over those and he accepted those, and that was great. And then he became like a really true leader. Like, watching season like 7 Lance and season 1 Lance, like, it happened so slowly. It's like thinking back to it, you don't see much of a difference. But like, seriously, watching the first season and the 7th season, he's a completely different grown character from it. So I thought, and giving the final season a little more oomph, you kill that character so damn hard.
I would have liked him dead.
He hasn't used the Altean broadsword in a fight yet, so yeah, no. You don't kill Lance till he busts out the Altean broadsword.
He did, though.
Then
I
you
thought
can
he
kill
already did.
No,
Oh,
he did it in
only
a
did
training simulation. And
that's
they
true,
make
yeah.
a big deal because Allura even mentions that it's the exact same sword that her father's Bayard turned into. So you're like, oh, so Lance has got to bust out that sword at some point, and he has yet to do it. So
They're
It's
saving
like,
that
don't
in their
kill
back
Lance till
pocket.
then.
Not-
I just thought there were so many chances. Even when they were like floating in the, I thought even when they were floating in space and they were all like, oh, there's 5. Okay, well, I don't even know the plot of like that ending got like really weird. Just like, oh, there's 5 metal plates that we all got to block with our lions, and like Allura gets knocked out, Lance jumps in the way and gets zapped. And it's like, oh, that would have been a great moment for him to die there as well. Like, just,
Lance has great.
funny.
He could have died moments all the fucking time, and that's how come I was positive in all of watching all throughout Voltron that there was going to be a part where Lance either sacrifices himself or gets captured, and like it helps them escape, and then they save him again, and they've already replaced him with another lion and like another paladin. I was positive that was going to happen because that would have been really cool to watch. Just because
You mean
Lance is
Shiro?
grown. Yeah, Shiro.
that's
could have been
Shiro's arc.
Shiro's arc. Give Shiro's arc to Lance's. That would have been that would have been better in my opinion.
Well, the problem with that though is, okay, so you kill Lance in season 7, and then what? Do you replace him with Shiro again? Shiro as part of Voltron?
You use
Then-
one of the 4 pilots that they're clearly going to make paladins at the end of the season
This-
8.
I thought they were
Disgusting.
cannon
I-
fodder. I thought they were gonna die
I-
so fucking hard.
I do not. I mean, the new guys were good as new guys, but I cannot imagine any of them as Voltron Paladins. That would be too weird. That would have been too
They're
weird.
carbon copies of people.
They really were. I didn't even know that was
I-
Lance's sister for a while.
I don't know about that.
I
don't-
like the smart girl is Pidge, just a less fun Pidge.
She's
which is bad. That's bad. It's a worse pitch.
Yeah,
They
they're
didn't
worse
establish her
versions.
like she's autistic.
Yeah, they're
isn't she?
all
Like she
worse,
like
yeah.
knows all the science and like all the moves. Like how many turns to this? Oh, we go right, left, right, left, right, left, right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She's
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they're worse versions of the current Paladins. So why that would be a better addition to the show to have them actually man any of the lions is beyond
No,
me.
I don't think they're gonna.
Oh,
I don't
no,
think they're
'cause then you
gonna
got your-
be pilots. I think at the
no. But
I'm-
if they killed Lance,
if they killed Lance.
basically that would make the show worse.
No,
Yeah,
but
totally.
no,
Okay,
because
that's-
then you
It
have
would,
the
it would
final
destroy the
season.
mechanic,
No,
especially in
then
the
you'd be like they're not.
second to final season. That's terrible.
No, because then the final season emphasizes the point that sure these five people work together as a family and they worked as Voltron, but Voltron is bigger than that. Voltron has always been around. There was an old Voltron and there will be a new Voltron. So it's about finding the teammates there to do it. Like Lance's role was to die as eventually, maybe they all will eventually at some point, and Voltron will live on because Voltron's an idea about working together as a team.
Kobe, you always go on these damn fucking mystical rants, and I gotta reel you in here. All right. Do you honestly think that for 7 seasons we have a main cast of lovable characters that we've grown to know and care about, and in the final season you just have a random Joe Schmo, random like worst carbon copy of Lance that brings it to the finish line? Like, would that really be a satisfying final season if the whole family weren't there?
A satisfying show would be your heart of the show for a character who has grown into a character willing to sacrifice himself for a team in the final, in the second to last season, is a great character moment, and the last season is them dealing with that as a team, makes for some great stakes to show that these people can die. Because I will tell you, I am sick and tired of watching Voltron get zapped by a laser and them all going like, oh,
and going to sleep,
I'm sick and tired
and then
of
waking
that.
up.
But I mean, this isn't that kind of show. This is a kid show. Let's remind ourselves.
This is a show where Lotor slashed his father in half. I mean, it's not really a kid show. It has adult themes. It can.
Those
deal
are bad
with
guys.
It can.
Bad guys get killed. Good guys, the good guys that get killed don't matter to the show, but the main characters survive all the way through. I think if you want Lance to die, it's got to be in the final season. Second to final season,
No.
completely disagree.
I think if you want that, you want kind of like a common Simon from what's that show?
Gurren Lagann.
Spoiler alert.
You want that type of relationship. So
I
it
just
has to
want
either be in the
stakes.
beginning or
That's all I
in the
want.
Okay, you can put some stakes in there, but make the stakes for somebody else that's not vital to the team.
Who would you kill then if you had to kill a character?
Kill Hunk.
Karan.
Joe, you can't kill Hunk. Karan?
I would kill.
You'd kill
How about we
Karan?
kill? How about we kill Shiro off again? Let's try that one
You
more time.
can't do that at this
Shiro
point.
loves dying. He'll never pass up a chance.
Shiro's
true.
technically already
another
Shiro's already
clone.
dead. It's
One
not
of
even
those clones
Shiro.
are all dead.
This is Shiro's consciousness and a clone of himself. That's fucked up.
I mean, I'm not saying that because personally, Lance is my least favorite character on the team.
What?
Yeah. You talking about his character growth? I don't notice any character growth. He is still
Well, you
just
see what you'll want to
the-
see.
the comic relief guy. His romance with Allura was weird. It's like they kind of threw that in just to add a little story, and I'm like, ugh, like that doesn't work, doesn't sound right. It's like, oh, the jealous type, that's what they want him to be with him and Allura and Lotor. And then you guys saying he was being a leader in this past season, I don't really see that. So he's just the same guy. So I would have been okay with him dying off, but I also know that he needs to be on Voltron. He needs to be there towards the end. They don't have time to grieve and grime. They have to finish off with Hagar. They have other things to develop. And they spend that time mourning somebody that's on the team that didn't have to die.
Yeah.
I think that's just wasted material.
At most, they'd have an episode to grieve for Lance, and then maybe another episode to develop the new blue paladin or red paladin or whoever goes up the red paladin chain, basically a new paladin, and then the show goes on as normal. And then it's like, okay,
They didn't
so
do his character justice.
yeah, so okay, you just killed Lance, and then you introduce. So you're kind of you're shooting yourself in the foot twice. You kill off Lance, thereby removing the steady family dynamic we've come to know and love throughout these past 7 seasons, and you're shooting any chance of the new character filling in his shoes to be loved or known or respected in the same way that Lance was, or even close to it. So I think killing Lance off in the 7th season would have been a terrible idea, and I'm glad they didn't do it.
Well, I mean, I'm in no way agreeing with Kobe saying that Lance should have died. I'm just saying if you
Anybody
had an
there?
option to die, it would have been there. And what I'm saying with the new guys is that at the end of season 8, you know,
Hello? Anybody can hear me?
our main paladins are going to be
They're going to
retired.
retire.
Yeah, so I think those 4 are set up to take the place of 4 paladins.
Yeah, and I'm fine with the idea of Voltron being, around all the time and being kind of like a legacy, a hope for future generations piloted by, new generations to come. And I'm completely fine with that idea. And yeah, I agree with you, Jake, that they are set up to be the new paladins eventually, but definitely not for the final season. Maybe the final episode of the final season where they hang up their in the epilogue they hang up their capes. Here you go.
Why they gotta all be human?
Well, that's what another problem I've had with Voltron in general is that they talk about how Voltron is to represent the galaxy, and it's like, oh yeah, 3 humans, half Galra, and an Altean. Yep, that's representing the galaxy.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean-
it's kind of like like appropriation,
That's a Terran appropriation. I mean, whatever. Like, the show's for people. It's for humans. It's for me.
It's for me.
I don't want to see a fucking Martians
Think of,
piloting Voltron.
Think of like
I want to see a story about humans.
what's the planet with the living life on it that they get the crystals from?
Gamora.
fucking
Not
God.
Gamora. That's a Guardian of the Galaxy.
I know you're talking about the Balmora.
Balmora.
Yeah,
There we go.
the Balmerans.
Balmeran,
Would you
yeah.
want a Balmeran pilot?
A giant planet-sized being in the
no,
pilot
not the,
seat.
No, the people.
Oh,
Like
the
Shay.
people that inhabited.
The rock people, yeah.
Shay. Would you want Shay to pilot?
No, I don't want to see no one but humans on Voltron.
Whoa, Jeff. That seems very...
Listen.
right,
If
we're
aliens
back.
come to Earth, what?
Wait, did you not know they were gone?
No.
I didn't know that.
Oh, no, I was... That's what I was... Like, I was just adding fluff. I didn't know that we
I was
were
gone for the last like
Kobe-
2 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, Kobe, add this to your editing list. Yeah, sorry, I didn't know. I didn't even.
Were we saying important parts?
No, that's how come I just brought up the joke about how they're all human. I mean, no, you said they're
Yeah.
all human, and then I brought up the joke that they're like not like representing the galaxy.
Well, that's good fluff, I think.
Well,
Keep that
is
in.
it good fluff? Can I keep it?
Yeah, I think you can keep it.
Yeah, you're gonna
Sure.
have, you're
All
gonna
right.
have to listen to it and see what you like.
So, Jeff, I'm just going to say my internet thought you were so wrong on your opinion that it just completely shut down.
Oh,
That's completely fine. Our internet's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, mine and Jake's are fine.
Oh, you're there.
So, I guess the next point of discussion that I want to bring up is Jake and Allura's romance subplot.
Jake and Allura.
what?
Oh shit, Jake is in the show now.
You have something to tell us?
Jake.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Are
apparently.
Jake,
you
you are now
wooing the
Lance.
princess?
Lance, Kobe wants you to die in the 7th season.
Kobe.
No. Oh, yeah, no, it
was
is
the
this
so-
season I want you to die.
Sorry, I meant Lance and Allura as their romance subplot. What do you guys think about it?
Boo.
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 I only ship Lance with one person and one person only.
Oh, my God. You're so wrong.
Is it Keith? Is it Keith? It's got to be Keith.
It's
right?
not Keith.
Oh.
It's Pidge.
Who would it be? That's weird.
Pidge
Dude.
Yeah,
and-
that's
like
so
never
fucking wrong.
interact.
Pidge and
Before
Lance.
That's
Before I
even
started,
weirder.
Pidge and Lance are endgame. You can watch it from the very beginning.
No, you cannot. You
they're
are
endgame.
such a... You told me this before I started watching the show. Just like, oh, like Lance and Pidge. Like, you shipped Lance with one of the characters, and when Pidge was like a girl, I was like, oh, it's Lance and Pidge. So I thought, okay, we're gonna get moments that actually seem like they're gonna be together. Like, no.
Oh,
You
pardon
don't
me
know.
when Lance wakes up from a coma to save Pidge.
And
Keep going.
Or
Keep
when
going. Keep going.
Pidge violently attacks a man wildly against her, like against how she normally fights to save Lance. Or that time, that they threatened to torture Pidge, and Lance audibly defends her and jumps in front of her. How about the fact that they spend all of the Mall episode together?
the mall episode is not canon.
The Mall episode is totally canon.
I mean, not in that.
How's that not canon?
In words for this.
They have
I
the
just-
cowl for the rest of the series.
Yeah, they do have the cow. The cow is very important. I wouldn't say canon. I would just say it's not as important. What the show seems to be doing more than anything, there was that one really weird scene where when Coran was just like the show was trying to say that Hunk and Pidge were actually going to be together.
Yeah, that's what I heard. That's what I was thinking too.
Hmm.
I mean, I don't think they don't need a romance subplot. How about that?
I mean, they really don't.
There's no chemistry really between any of these. No romantic chemistry that I see between any of these characters.
Shiro and Keith.
The most romantic. Shiro and Keith. Yeah, that's true. Shiro and Keith. Yes. I guess.
That's like a mentor-mentee, father-son relationship.
Yeah, but you don't know
there
that
was a
at
lot
the
of
beginning.
close-ups like in between them, and like, oh yeah, you'll always be there for me, huh? Anyways, whatever.
He literally says, "Shiro, I love you,"
As a brother.
Yeah.
as a brother. Sure, but
Yeah, yeah,
everything
yeah, yeah.
before
I
that,
mean,
you
you
don't
can
know.
take it.
Yeah.
You can take it whatever way you want, Kobe. You can ship whoever you want in your fan fiction in your head.
You're
But,
right. I don't ship a lot of people, but I know for one thing, I do not ship Lance and Pidge.
All right, I didn't attack your ships. I just said that. I'm like, I'm here sailing around, and you're like, fuck that ship.
I mean, okay, I could get on board with Lance and Pidge. I mean, okay, besides the fact that there's no romantic chemistry between them, I kind of like the idea that Lance is always like kind of flirty and always thirsty for women, and so it turns out like the girl that he goes for is like kind of a guy at the same time. Like she's very tomboyish, and he thought that he was the only one that thought that she was a dude the whole time. And I thought that I just think that's kind of funny and maybe poetic in some sense. But I mean, the most romantic subtext that I saw was like one moment when like Shiro grabbed Allura's hand very briefly when she was like kind of stressed out and she was like trying to pull up a map or whatever, and she was like, "You gotta calm down." And I think Shiro and Allura should have gotten together. That would have been awesome. That would have been my ship. But
they were way
didn't
too
happen.
powerful. They were two Type A individuals.
I know,
Yeah.
but come on, power couples, come on. Would have been awesome. Half Altean babies with white locks of hair and robot arms.
And robot
robot
arms. That's genetic.
Do you think clones can reproduce?
They haven't yet, so I don't know if that's like a thing in the future. Because
that's true.
they end
That's
up having unviable sperm. But what can
This
happen
conversation
in the
has taken
future?
a
Who
turn.
knows? I don't know.
It's a very important question, Jake.
We're going into genetics and stuff now.
So do you think...
Oh well,
Is there any good way to resolve this Lance and Allura romance in the final season?
never
no,
bring it up
They give a
ever
firm
again.
handshake and respect each other as colleagues.
Yeah, completely agree there. Yes.
That you can be my
fine.
wingman
Logically.
anytime.
Yeah, they say, you're my best
reference, I
friend,
got you.
and then they shake their hands and nod
Nod.
their heads.
And then
And that's
Pidge
it.
sweeps Lance off his feet. Game over. Game over.
Yeah, I'm down for that. I was kind of hoping that like Pidge would actually kind of let her hair down a bit more. I
Yeah.
liked pre
I did
Voltron
like long
Pidge
hair
when,
Pidge.
yeah, when she had her
And
long hair
I know
and
they
stuff.
made her look very girly just to like contrast to what she looks now. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It would just been nice to see them age a little bit, like her hair grow out. And stuff.
Yeah, it would have been good to see maybe Hunk grows a mustache or something like that.
You know what?
My biggest
romantic
final
su-
season wish. I hope Hunk grows a mustache.
That's not a bad wish.
My only romantic subplot I see, which I pitched before, no one agrees with me, is Allura and Karan.
Wrong.
That's terrible. That's
like her
terrible.
So
dad.
wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, that is her dad.
That's worse
I
than...
mean, they're
yeah,
not. It's not her dad.
But that's like
they're the
they're-
last.
probably
They're the last
changed her
Alteans,
diapers.
quotation mark.
gotta
They
keep their
gotta-
bloodline pure.
Yeah.
They
I
say
know
all
they're
the
not.
time they're the last Alteans, but there's so many Alteans running around.
If Lance really wants an Altean girl, I really wish he would have gone with the
That chick.
new Altean girl that
Rom?
was.
Romel.
Is that her name? I don't remember.
Romel, yeah.
Romel,
Is
yeah.
she in
Yeah.
the original series, Jake?
I think so. I remember I remember hearing her name and just being like, that sounds really familiar. And then I Googled her and there was a bunch of like old Voltron art of her, but I couldn't find anything that talked about her in the original series, so I don't know if that's just fan art of just like it in the old Voltron style.
Do you want more from her character in the final season, or just is it fine if she fades away from existence?
I think they have to keep her on in the cast, like maybe make her part of the Atlas crew. But like we don't need episodes that focus on Ramel. Just have her be like her plucky self, like when she was complaining about all the like when they shrunk down. That's like my favorite Ramel episode because she's like, this happens often to all of you,
Yeah.
and you're all fine with it. And Hunk goes,
we
thank
literally
you.
just crashed here. Yeah.
Yeah, I really liked her actually. She was spunky.
And she
Yeah.
kind of faded away,
And she faded away. She didn't have much to do. Yeah, where was she in the final season?
just in a line hanging out.
They left her on Jupiter.
never-
My thing is, you brought up when you said like that was your favorite Ramel episode, but what I always like to talk about, I think I messaged you about this long ago. Every season of Voltron has a fun episode, so I'm curious about what your guys' kind of favorite fun episode is, the one that's kind of offbeat and off kilter every season.
The mall episode.
Mall
The
episode.
mall, your number one. So what are
Yeah.
there's the mall, there's the
Game show one, the D&D one.
yeah, and the D&D one. I think are the biggest ones that come to mind. Then there's the one where they play with the robot and they give the robot feelings. But that was a serious episode besides that subplot. But I guess
Yeah,
those
that
are
was
the
the
three
B
ones.
plot.
The
that are just
Voltron
like-
show, or another one.
Oh yeah, the Voltron show. I love the Voltron show because of how meta that was. I love the line. Everyone, you're fired except for you, Shiro. You're safe. We can never do anything.
Oh
to you.
yeah, that was funny.
But the mall episode is your favorite fun episode.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like really the most memorable one in my opinion.
I think I like the game
of all
show
the
one
funny
more.
episodes.
Game show one was good too.
I mean, I'm a huge D&D nerd, so obviously I'm going to pick the D&D one. And what impressed me the most about that one was that there are writers that write about Dungeons and Dragons, and like you can kind of tell that they don't really know what it's about, or they never actually played it. They just kind of, poke fun at, hey, nerds rolling dice and that kind of thing. But yeah, that episode to me really felt like it came from a place of people who actually played the game. Like, I don't know. I just think that it was I enjoyed it a lot, and I like D&D.
The D&D one is cheapened for me though, because that's a Shiro clone, and Shiro has great lines in that episode, and it's not real Shiro.
Well, let's talk about that, because it's the Shiro clone, but like it's still Shiro, right? Like he had Shiro. He thinks he's Shiro. He has Shiro's memories.
Like, it's one of those. A lot of those like fun times they have with the clone don't sit well with me. Like thinking back on them, because it is upsetting. I'm like, oh.
They make it so tragic because like it's a funny line in that episode when he's like, "Why would you want to be anything other than a paladin?" Like it's it's funny in that context, but thinking back when it's like not even him and he died being a paladin, it's like that is pretty fucking sad.
Yeah, and that's awesome. I think that's great. That bit of tragedy embedded in there, and throughout those seasons where he was a clone, I don't know. I mean, if you want a bit of sadness, if you want some death in your shows, Kobe, then that's pretty fucking sad, dude. Like you think you're one person, and then it turns out your whole life is a lie. You're just a clone of someone else, and then you just fucking die. That's fucked up.
I mean, I think of them like Shiro and the clones as being pretty much the same person, except for when something like triggers him or brings out his clone likeness, where he becomes evil Shiro.
Evil Shiro.
But I think other than that, I think he's pretty much the same. So
something I gotta point out here that I thought that never sat well with me about the whole clone thing is that like, so Hagar has the ability to control everyday people, like no matter what. So it's like, what was the clone's purpose? Like, what was the purpose of her being a clone? Because it's not like the clone followed her commands. It still was influenced by her magic, because she did the same thing to Nefertiti, whatever it was. So I never understood why they had both things. I guess
she was spying through him, right?
Yeah, but she could have done that if it was the real Shiro. I think it would have been. It's like even more impactful if it wasn't even a clone. If it was actual Shiro.
I think you have to have like a high connection, like Lotor's like bodyguard was like a telepath, so I think she was able to sneak in that way. So I think she developed like a telepathic connection to the Shiro clone as she needed time.
Yeah.
But I mean, what was the end goal? Like, I kind of think it's weird because they didn't bring up the clone thing until many seasons later. And at that point, you're like, well, did it really make a difference? Because for all those seasons, Shiro could have done so much to mess up the team, and he could have just like strangled them in their sleep. But instead, they just waited,
Yeah, they
3 or 4
succeeded. Hagar
seasons
just let him like do his own thing. Does that imply that she didn't have control of him at that point? No, but she always did, because he was always going like, "Oh, my head," and they're like, "What's wrong?" He's like, "Oh, it's nothing," and they're like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, it's implied that he is under control, but it doesn't make a difference in the seasons at all.
I mean, could it be that those moments when he had those headaches were her trying to take control of him, and that the Shiro clone was too much of a Shiro to fully let go?
I think
Fuck,
it's
why is this guy so good?
What a total Shiro.
I take it as the writers weren't sure how they wanted to deal with this, so they delayed it for 3 seasons, but they hinted at it ever so slightly so we wouldn't forget. That's what I interpreted it as.
Yeah,
Let me.
that makes sense.
This is my evil master plan. If I were to implant a clone of a Voltron Paladin into Voltron.
Hit us.
Are you evil?
No, maybe. But I think it's if you went around having Shiro kill people in their sleep, like someone's gonna notice. Someone's gonna notice right away that people weren't dying in their sleep till we got Shiro back. Now people are dying in their sleep.
I think Keith would have been like, "No, it's the weather. That's it can't be Shiro."
So I think the idea was to get Voltron's pilots vulnerable, and he does that. Keith leaves. He makes a lot of them unsure if they're needed in the team when for Lance and Allura. And then they become dependent on him again, and Keith is no longer around to pilot the Black Lion, and that's when she activates him, and that's when she goes, okay, now they're vulnerable, and she screws up their whole dynamic. And
but doesn't that imply that the clone that he wasn't his own self, that he was always under her control? So you're saying that this Shiro was always acting under Hagar, that he didn't have any free will?
I don't think it had free will. I think it was like if you program
More of a subtle influence,
like
kind
if
of
you
thing.
program a robot to do objectives, that's not free will. It's doing your objectives. So I think that's what it was. It was like, hey, do A, B, and C, and don't get caught while doing it. And so that's where he was doing A, B, and C.
But also, like, Shiro killing them in their sleep, that's not a foolproof plan. I mean, you're talking about the Paladins of Voltron. They're savvy. Like, sure, like, maybe he could get away with killing maybe one of them, but, like, the rest of them against him, like, that's a tall order, I would say. And
mean,
who knows, several things could go wrong with that plan.
I mean, I'm not saying that was the plan. Like, I just gave that as an example. What the real plan would be is that when Voltron is at their most, like, vulnerable, and I don't mean, like, mentally, because I don't think Hagar can really have that much of an influence where they're, like, separated and, you know, doubting each other with trust issues. But I literally think when they're at their lowest point, because they've been at their lowest point many times in the season where they've been close to death or close to these situations where they're literally like at mercy's end of what's going on. Shiro had plenty of time to, you know, take action then and there and you know, fight them.
Or, you know, detonate the bomb that he had, I guess, installed, the shutdown method that he had, you know, when he went bad.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I just think it's another poor issue on the writing. But I just think it's weird. It just one of those things that didn't flow very well.
Yeah, like it's a consequence of bringing them back too early, I think.
Oh, you know what would have been cool if they went back. I don't think they'll do it in this final season. But what they should have done is if they made Shiro and Clone and had small objectives to slowly like tear apart the team, it would have been really cool on like missions where they failed or maybe that. Something went wrong, like they go back and show Shiro actually being the cause of it, or like subtly influencing it, like they see him like talking or something, and it turns out that he was, you know, doing something that caused them to fail, so that we could kind of see how he's been impacting the seasons instead of them just ignoring it for seasons.
Yeah, I think they could have done something that's really great. Like Young Justice Season 1 did this well with Red Arrow and his reveal as like the mole, because he did influence and he did give knowledge to the team of that, but he also wasn't aware of his actions until the end.
Yeah.
So I know that it's kind of
Mole.
copying.
Yeah.
It's kind of copying Young Justice too, but that was such a great moment in Young Justice. I mean, it could have been a great moment here too. Yeah. Okay. I guess wow. This conversation went on much longer. I thought this would be like 15 minutes. You know,
wow.
I thought we wouldn't have.
What?
Yeah, I thought
Kobe,
we
you've
wouldn't.
done this
15
long
minutes
enough
of
to
7
know
seasons?
if there's 5 people on a podcast talking about 7+ seasons.
Yeah,
it
I
ain't
thought we
gonna be
wouldn't
15
have.
minutes.
I didn't know. Anyway, doesn't matter. Is there any, I guess, final things you guys want to discuss?
How about what we want to see in the final season?
Oh yeah, like what I mentioned at the beginning.
Yeah.
So, that's one of my 3 points I mentioned, and I forgot my very last one. Okay, Jake, what do you want to see in the final season?
All right. First one's gonna be pretty short. Broadsword. I want to see Altea and Broadsword. Damn it! Let Lance use a sword. I guess 2 is I want it wrapped up. Like I want our Paladin story to be done. Like, and with that being said, is I want like an epilogue at the end of the last episode where either it's a time skip to them older or them passing the mantle of like their colored paladins onto new people. It could be like the new pilots. I hope it's not, but like maybe other members of the resistance that we've seen like kind of step up in certain parts. Like it'd be cool to see them do something like that. And this is absolutely personal. I do want to see a Pidge Lance either moment or some like final thing to end either the Lance Allura love story or to finish it, like to make it more reasonable if it's a thing. And then I don't know what else I want from it. I'm just honestly really looking forward to it. So I guess broadsword, epilogue, plants. That's
Plants. That's your
that's
shit,
my
man.
3.
You're a simple man. Simple pleasure.
Simple man.
That's all you
Simple
want
3
there.
things.
All right. When we watch it, I'll send you a message. Just like, what are your 3 things happened? All right. Victoria, what about you? What do you want from the final season of Voltron?
I'm wondering how / if they're gonna have another giant monster battle, and if that would be in the combination of the Atlas and Voltron working together. Maybe somehow they combine, but I don't think that's very feasible.
Super robot.
Yeah. Versus whatever Hagar's been working on and whatever she reveals to be her monster thing. Because I really enjoyed just giant monsters fighting each other. I thought that was an epic moment when the Atlas turned into a monster. I was like, oh my god, I didn't know it could do that. I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to some sort of monster battle. And then hopefully Hunk finds his parents. Hope that works out for him.
Oh yeah, he didn't.
And
really...
I actually kind of think that Hunk and Rommel I could ship them because I can see their dynamic. And then Allura finding her people probably so that she doesn't feel like they're the last Alteans.
Yeah, she'll probably be. That's a good point.
Yeah, so she actually becomes the queen of her people.
Okay. Tori.
I think like Jake said, I want an epilogue. I personally want to see each of the paladins like grow up and find a role in this whole universe that they've saved and created. Like I know they're going to pass the torch to the new Voltron, but I want to see what becomes of them after all of this is done, because this has been their, for years they've been working on this and it's finally finished. How do they grow up, or how do they like form into this new world? Other than that, I don't know. I don't really have much expectations in this. Unfortunately, I don't know if I'm going to get the, I don't know if the season's going to be that good. I don't know. I kind of have some doubts. I don't know how they can wrap it up in a way that is even more exciting or new or adventurous. So I'm not putting so much expectations on this. I'm just going to see what happens.
Okay. I guess for me, let's see. As I mentioned before, I want Lance to die. No, not even that so much. I want a character death. I want to feel the stakes. I want this final battle to come with a cost. That's basically what it boils down to for me. But I guess more importantly than that, I'm really hoping Hagar is an interesting villain. Whether Lotor comes back into play in some way, I just need Hagar to be a good final wrap up. Final challenge for them, worthy of everything that they've gone through before, or else it's because I thought season 7, the ending of season 7, that final battle, the final 4-episode battle was like such hype. Like I thought that was insane and just well done. And I kind of do have doubts that they can top that, but I want them to, absolutely. I'm glad there's 13 episodes and not like a 6 or 7 episode season. So I'm hopefully they have a good idea of how they want their story to end and they execute it to the best of their abilities. Jeff.
A lot of what's been said before is also what I want. So as not to repeat
you want
things.
Plants too.
Yes, I want some plants in there. So as not to repeat things, I want Lance and Allura's relationship to end.
Yeah.
Sorry, Lance, I want to cut that trip off. And I want to see Voltron and the Atlas robot combine, because I think that's the next natural progression of this. This is a mecha anime, right? Like basically, so you have one big robot and another bigger robot. The natural progression is for the two to combine and make an even bigger robot. So yeah, I guess that's about it. I just want the season to be good. I don't know if it can be as good as seasons 1 or 2, because we don't have really the original team that I wanted. But I guess we'll see.
Okay. Does anyone have any final things they want to say? Anything like that?
I guess I could have said this earlier, but when they're at the Altean Temple, there's mention of a white paladin, right? And they say Voltron's never had a white paladin.
Sure.
I don't remember that, but that sounds awesome.
I can't remember, and I don't know. I think that's there. I don't know if I'm just imagining it, but I feel like that's a reference to Shiro, and Shiro is going to do something awesome in this newest season. I feel like that's what's going to happen.
Okay.
I'm
That
down for
Shiro
more
becomes the white
awesome
paladin.
Shiro stuff.
He's gonna Power Ranger it and become like the White Ranger or something like that.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty cool.
Okay. All right. Well, this was awesome, guys. I'm glad we got to do this just because Voltron's a really fun show to discuss. Jake, you hail from a different channel. You want to plug your channel?
Yeah, sure. I'm no stranger to the some Nerd Blaze content, but I am from Anime Dumpster Dive, where we go in depth on an anime that's been considered trash. And our latest podcast, we went in depth on a anime called "I Want You to Make a Disgusted Face While Showing Me Your Panties," and that
Sounds
was
like trash.
a show to tell you to be spoiler free.
Okay. All right. Cool. Yeah, check out his channel. It's awesome. For the rest of us, we're on Nerd Blaze. Like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. We do weekly anime reviews, and then we also do our own podcast, Anime Ricochet, where two dudes who know nothing about sports talk about sports anime. Jake has been a guest, along with the other people on his channel as well. But yeah, this is very fun, guys, and we look forward to Voltron coming out today, which is when it comes out, and we're probably all going to go watch it. All right, this is. I wish I had a cool sign. Like, what's a Voltron sign off line?
It's been a pleasure flying with you all.
Yeah, Keith has said that a lot.
It's been a pleasure flying. Okay, all right. It's been a pleasure flying with you all.
I think he says that. It's probably alpha.
He says it
whatever.
when they think they're gonna die, like every time. Like when they're pushing up the body, he goes, "It was a pleasure flying with you all," and then it explodes.
He does say that. Okay, perfect, and a nice taper off.